Dr. Hana Kim stared out the window of the spaceship New Seoul at the most beautiful sight she had ever seen. A massive alien ship floated in space like a crystal palace made of light. It was 3 times bigger than her human ship and seemed to glow with its own inner fire. The alien ship looked like someone had carved it from a giant diamond and filled it with stars. "They're really here," whispered Captain Ji-woo Park as he stood beside her. "After all these years of wondering if we were alone, we finally found them." Hana nodded but kept her eyes on the alien ship. As the ship's doctor and mind specialist, she knew this moment would change everything for humanity. They had traveled so far from Earth to explore new worlds. Now they had found something incredible. Proof that humans were not the only thinking beings in the universe. The alien ship had appeared 3 days ago. At first, the human crew thought it might attack them. But instead, the aliens sent a message. The message came not as words or sounds, but as feelings and pictures that appeared in their minds. The aliens called themselves the Valari. They wanted to meet and talk with the humans in peace. Captain Ji-woo had been careful. He made sure all weapons were turned off and sent back friendly messages. The aliens seemed happy with this. They asked for something strange. They wanted to touch minds with a human. They said it was their way of saying hello and making friends. "Dr. Kim," Captain Ji-woo said now, turning to face her, "I've made my choice. I want you to be our representative." Hana felt her stomach drop. She had hoped someone else would be picked for this job. "Captain, are you sure? Maybe Engineer Minho Lee would be better. Or Communications Officer Taehyun Yu?" "No," the captain said firmly. "You're our expert on how minds work. If anyone can handle meeting these telepathic aliens, it's you. Plus, you've dealt with trauma and stress before. Your military background might help if things go wrong." Hana wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She had spent years learning about human psychology. She had worked with soldiers who had been hurt in wars. She understood how minds could break and how to fix them. If the aliens really could read thoughts, she was probably the best choice. "When do we meet them?" she asked. "In 2 hours. They're sending a small ship over." The next 2 hours passed quickly. Hana spent the time reading everything they knew about the Valari. It wasn't much. The aliens seemed to be peaceful. They had never fought wars or hurt other beings. They lived on a world where everything was beautiful and safe. They talked to each other by sharing thoughts instead of speaking out loud. This worried Hana. In her experience, beings who had never faced danger were often weak when trouble came, but she pushed these thoughts away. Maybe the Valari were different. Maybe they were strong in ways humans couldn't understand. The alien shuttle arrived exactly on time. It looked like a soap bubble made of light. Hana watched from the main room as it connected to their ship. The doors opened with a soft hissing sound. 3 Valari floated into the room. Hana gasped. They were the most beautiful creatures she had ever seen. They looked like they were made of liquid starlight. Their bodies were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to flow like water. They had no solid features, but somehow Hana could tell they were looking at her. The tallest Valari moved forward. When it spoke, the words appeared in everyone's minds at the same time. "Greetings, beings of Earth. We are honored to meet you. I am the one you may call Bright Song of Welcome. These are my companions, Gentle Wind Through Leaves and Dancing Light on Water." Captain Ji-woo stepped forward and bowed. "Welcome to our ship. I am Captain Ji-woo Park. This is Dr. Hana Kim, our chosen representative." The lead Valari turned its attention to Hana. She felt a strange tingling in her mind, like someone was gently knocking on a door. "Dr. Kim, we are pleased to meet you. Your mind feels different from what we expected. There are shadows there, but also great strength. Are you ready for the mind-joining ceremony?" Hana took a deep breath. "What exactly does this ceremony involve?" "It is simple. I will touch your thoughts with mine. We will share memories and feelings for a brief moment. This allows us to understand each other truly. Among my people, it is how we greet new friends and seal important agreements." "Is it safe?" asked Captain Jiwoo. "Completely safe. We have done this ceremony thousands of times with our own people and with other peaceful species we have met. It causes no harm and creates a bond of trust between us." Hana looked at her captain. He nodded encouragement. She looked around the room at her crew, Engineer Minho Lee, Communications Officer Taehyun Yu, Security Chief Kyung-ho Nam, and the others. They were all counting on her to make this work. "All right," she said. "I'm ready." "Excellent. Please, sit and relax. Clear your mind of worry." Hana sat in a chair that had been brought for the ceremony. The Valari moved closer. From its flowing form, crystalline tendrils began to emerge. They looked like living glass, beautiful and delicate. Do not fear the touch. Simply let your mind be open. Think of peaceful things, your home, happy memories, love for your friends. The tendrils moved toward Hana's head. She tried to think of good things as instructed. She thought of Earth, of sunny days, of her family. But as the alien's touch grew closer, other memories began to surface. Memories she usually kept locked away deep in her mind. The crystal tendrils touched her temples. For a moment, there was perfect silence. Then, the most horrible scream Hana had ever heard filled the air. The Valari leader jerked backward, its beautiful form suddenly twisted with terror. The scream came not from its mouth, but from its mind, and every human in the room felt it like a knife in their brain. The other two Valari collapsed. Their flowing forms hit the floor and began shaking. The one called Gentle Wind Through Leaves was making a sound like crying, while Dancing Light on Water had gone completely still. Monsters! The word exploded in everyone's minds. Monsters! Nightmares! How can such beings exist? Security Chief Kyung-ho Nam reached for his weapon, but Captain Jiwoo stopped him. The Valari leader was backing toward the door, its form flickering like a broken light. You are not what you seem. Your minds, the darkness in them. How do you live with such horror?" Hana stood up slowly, her hands shaking. "I don't understand. What did you see?" But the Valari was already fleeing. It grabbed its fallen companions and pulled them toward their shuttle. As they left, its final thought echoed in the human minds. We must warn the others. These creatures must be stopped before they spread their madness to the galaxy. The doors closed. The alien shuttle detached and sped away toward the crystal ship. Within minutes, the beautiful vessel began to move away from them. Captain Jiwoo looked at Hana with confusion and worry. "What happened? What did they see in your mind?" Hana sat back down heavily. She knew exactly what the aliens had seen, and it terrified her. "Captain," she said quietly, "I think we're in very serious trouble." The bridge of the new soul was completely quiet. Everyone stared at the alien ship as it moved away from them. The beautiful crystal vessel was now surrounded by a red glow that pulsed like an angry heartbeat. Even from far away, the humans could tell something was very wrong. Captain Jiwoo Park broke the silence. "Dr. Kim, I need you to tell me exactly what happened. What could have scared them so badly?" Hana Kim sat in her chair, her hands still shaking from the mind touch. She looked pale and sick. "Captain, I think they saw my memories from the war." "What war?" asked Communications Officer Tae-hyun Yu. Hana took a deep breath. She had never talked about her past with most of the crew. "The Martian colonial wars. I served there for 5 years before I became a doctor." Engineer Minho Lee frowned. "I thought you were always a medical person. Your file says you're a doctor and mind specialist." "That's true," Hana said. "But before I helped people heal their minds, I learned how to break them." The crew looked at her with surprise. Captain Jiwoo sat down across from her. "Explain." "I was part of the 3rd Psychological Operations Unit," Hana said slowly. "We were soldiers, but we fought with minds instead of just weapons. I was trained as both a combat medic and a psychological warfare specialist. Security Chief Kyung-ho Nam understood immediately." "You were involved in the Titan Station siege, weren't you?" Hana nodded. "And the Olympus City assault, and the final battle at the Mariner Valley." The crew fell silent again. Everyone had heard stories about those battles. They were some of the bloodiest fights in human history. Thousands of people had died in each one. "What exactly did you do there?" Captain Jiwoo asked gently. Hana closed her eyes. "Everything a human being could do to survive. I treated wounded soldiers under enemy fire. I interrogated prisoners to get information that would save lives. I watched friends die and kept fighting. I used psychological tactics to break enemy morale. I made choices that kept me awake at night for years." "But that was war," said Tae-hyun. "You did what you had to do to protect people." "Yes," Hana said, "but that's exactly the problem. When the Valari touched my mind, they didn't just see what I did. They saw how I could do it. They saw that I could watch people suffer and not break down. They saw that I could make hard choices and live with them. They saw that I could be kind to a wounded enemy and then plan their defeat an hour later." Minho looked confused. "What's wrong with that? That sounds like you're a strong person." "To us, yes," Hana said. "But think about what the Valari told us. They're peaceful. They've never fought wars. They've never had to make life and death choices. In their world, everyone is kind and safe all the time." Captain Jiwoo began to understand. "So when they looked into your mind, they saw a monster," Hana finished. "They saw someone who could kill to protect others. Someone who could lie and manipulate when necessary. Someone who had learned to turn off her emotions when she needed to think clearly. Someone who had survived things that would have destroyed them." Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. Tae-hyun ran to his communication station. His face went white as he read the messages coming in. "Captain," he said with fear in his voice, "the Valari ship is sending out broadcasts to other alien vessels. I'm picking up responses from at least 12 different ships." "What are they saying?" Captain Jiwoo demanded. Tae-hyun worked frantically at his controls. "The universal translator is having trouble, but I'm getting words like contamination, psychic plague, and immediate quarantine." Kyung-ho checked his security sensors. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships moving toward our position. They're coming from all directions." On the main screen, points of light began to appear. Each one was an alien ship. Within minutes, the human vessel was surrounded. Dr. Jiho Sun, the mission's anthropologist, had been quiet until now. "Captain," he said thoughtfully, "I think I understand what's happening. The Valari aren't just scared of Dr. Kim. They're scared of all humans. Explain, Captain Jiwoo ordered. Think about it, Jiho said. They're telepaths. When they touched Dr. Kim's mind, they didn't just see her memories. They saw how human minds work. They saw that we're all capable of the same things she did. Hana nodded slowly. He's right. Every human has the potential for both great kindness and terrible cruelty. We all have the ability to make hard choices and live with the consequences. That's what evolution gave us. But they don't understand. That, Jiho continued. In their peaceful world, minds like ours don't exist. To them, we must seem like walking nightmares. More ships kept appearing on their sensors. The crystal vessels formed a perfect sphere around the new soul. The humans were completely trapped. Tae-hyun received another message. This one came with pictures that appeared in everyone's minds at the same time. The images showed human faces, but twisted and evil-looking. Then came images of planets burning and civilizations falling apart. Attention! Creatures of the vessel New Soul, came a voice that wasn't the friendly Valari from before. This one sounded cold and afraid. You are carriers of a mental disease that threatens all peaceful life. You will be contained until a cleansing fleet can arrive to deal with you. Captain Jiwoo stood up. This is Captain Park of the human vessel. We mean no harm to anyone. We came here in peace. Your intentions do not matter. Your very existence is a threat. We have seen the darkness in your minds. We know what you are capable of. You must be stopped before you can spread this madness to others. Kyung-ho checked his weapon systems. Captain, they're right about one thing. We are outnumbered. I count 37 enemy ships now. Don't even think about fighting, Captain, Jiwoo said firmly. That would just prove their point. Hana stood up suddenly. Captain, I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. Tell me. Let me talk to them again. Let me try another mind touch. Everyone on the bridge stared at her. Are you insane? Asked Minho. You saw what happened the first time. That's exactly why it might work, Hana said. They're afraid because they only saw a small part of what makes me human. They saw the darkness, but they didn't see the light. They saw the capacity for violence, but they didn't see why we choose kindness instead. Captain Jiwoo shook his head. It's too dangerous. What if the mental contact hurts you? What if it doesn't? Hana countered. What if this is our only chance to make them understand? Tae-hyun looked up from his station. Captain, I'm receiving more messages. The Valari are calling for something called a purification fleet. From what I can translate, it sounds like they want to destroy us completely. The captain looked around at his crew. They were good people. All of them. They had families back on Earth. They had dreams and hopes for the future. Now they might all die because aliens couldn't understand what it meant to be human. Dr. Kim, he said finally, if you're willing to try this, I won't stop you. But I want everyone to understand. This might be our last chance. If it goes wrong, we might not get another opportunity to explain ourselves. Hana nodded. I understand. But, Captain, there's something else you need to know. If I do this, I can't hold back. I'll have to show them everything, the good and the bad. I'll have to show them what humans are really like. What do you mean? Hana looked out at the alien ships surrounding them. I'll have to show them not just my memories, but the memories of our entire species. Every war, every act of cruelty, every moment of violence in human history, but also every act of love, every sacrifice made for others, Every time we chose to be better than we had to be. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of instruments. Outside, the alien ships waited like predators around wounded prey. "Do it," Captain Jiwoo said finally. "Contact them. Tell them we want to try again." As Taehyun sent the message, Hana prepared herself for what might be the most important conversation in human history. She would have to show these aliens not just who she was, but who humanity really was. She would have to make them understand that the same minds capable of terrible darkness were also capable of incredible light. The response came quickly. The Volari were willing to try again, but this time they would send their most powerful telepath. If the second contact failed, the purification fleet would be called immediately. Hana closed her eyes and tried to prepare for what was coming. She would have to open her mind completely, showing these aliens every aspect of human nature. She only hoped they would be strong enough to understand what they saw. The alien ship that approached the new Sol was different from the others. While the Volari vessels looked like beautiful crystals, this new ship was darker and more solid. It moved through space like a living shadow, and it made everyone on. The human ship feel uneasy just looking at it. "Who are they?" asked Captain Jiwoo Park as he watched the dark ship dock with theirs. Communications Officer Tae-hyun Yu checked his instruments. "They're calling themselves the Keth Mori. From what I can understand, they're like judges or investigators. They work with the Volari to decide what to do with dangerous species." Dr. Ji Ho-sun, the anthropologist, studied the incoming data. "Captain, I'm reading something interesting. The Keth Mori aren't just telepaths like the Volari. They're mental warriors. They fought against hostile psychic entities before." "Great," muttered Security Chief Kyung Ho Nam. "So now we're dealing with alien mind police." Hana Kim stood, ready in the main meeting room. She had spent the last hour preparing herself mentally for what was coming. She knew this would be much worse than her encounter with the gentle Volari. These new aliens were coming to judge humanity, and they were ready for a fight. The airlock opened with a sharp hiss. 3 figures entered, but they were nothing like the flowing, beautiful Volari. The Keth Mori looked like they were made of dark metal and sharp angles. Their eyes glowed with cold blue light, and their movements were precise and threatening. The leader stepped forward. When it spoke, its mental voice was like ice. "I am judgment upon the guilty. These are my assistants, seeker of hidden truths and destroyer of false thoughts. We have come to examine the creature that has contaminated the Volari." Captain Jiwoo moved protectively toward Hana. "Dr. Kim is not a creature. She's a human being, and she volunteered to help create understanding between our peoples." "Understanding?" The alien's mental voice was filled with disgust. "The Volari have shared what they saw in this being's mind. We know what lurks in the thoughts of your species. There can be no understanding with monsters." "Then why are you here?" asked Hana calmly. "To confirm the threat level. To see if your entire species must be destroyed, or if you can be contained until you destroy yourselves." Engineer Min-ho Lee stepped forward angrily. "You can't just decide to kill an entire species because you don't like how we think." The second Keth Mori, seeker of hidden truths, turned its glowing eyes toward Min-ho. "You speak of rights as if you deserve them. But we have seen what your kind is capable of. War, murder, torture, lies. Your minds are filled with darkness. And yet you haven't seen everything," Hana said quietly. "You've only seen part of the story." Judgment upon the guilty moved closer to her. "Then show us the rest. But know this, we are not weak like the Volari. We have faced the worst minds in the galaxy. Your human horrors cannot break us. Hana nodded. I'm ready. But before the alien could touch her mind, Dr. Jiho Son spoke up. Wait, before you judge us, let me tell you something about the Valari. The Kethmori leader paused. Speak quickly. We've been analyzing their transmissions and the data from our first contact. The Valari didn't just see Dr. Kim's memories, they saw how different human minds are from their own. And that difference scared them more than anything specific she had done. Explain. Jiho pulled up a holographic display showing brain patterns. The Valari evolved on a world without predators, without competition, without scarcity. They never had to fight for survival. Their minds developed to be completely open, trusting, and cooperative. So? Asked Taehyun. So when they touched a human mind for the first time, they encountered mental patterns they had never seen before. They saw a mind that could be both kind and cruel, both loving and violent, both trusting and suspicious. To them, that seems impossible and terrifying. The third Kethmori, destroyer of false thoughts, spoke for the first time. You claim this makes you innocent? Your capacity for evil is still real. No, said Hana. I'm not claiming we're innocent. I'm claiming we're something else entirely. We're survivors. She looked directly at the alien leader. Let me show you what that really means. The Kethmori extended metallic tendrils from its arms. Unlike the gentle crystal touches of the Valari, these looked sharp and invasive. This will be more intense than what the Valari did. We will see everything. Are you prepared? Hana sat down and closed her eyes. I'm ready. The tendrils touched her temples. Immediately, Hana felt the alien mind pressing into hers like a cold knife. But this time, she didn't try to think of peaceful things. Instead, she opened her memory completely. The Kethmori saw the Martian wars, but not just the violence. They saw Hana working for 18 hours straight to save wounded soldiers. They saw her risk her own life to rescue civilians. They saw her cry for enemies she had been forced to kill. They saw human history, the wars, the cruelty, the terrible things people had done to each other. But they also saw the hospitals built after battles, the art created in memory of the dead, the laws made to prevent future atrocities. They saw humanity's greatest weakness, the ability to hurt others. But they also saw humanity's greatest strength, the ability to choose not to. The mental contact lasted for several minutes. When it ended, the Kethmori leader stepped back, but it didn't seem as confident as before. Interesting, it said slowly. Your species is more complex than the Valari indicated. What did you see? Asked Captain Jiwoo. We saw a species that has faced every form of hardship possible and survived. We saw minds that have been broken and rebuilt stronger. We saw beings who can make terrible choices and then spend the rest of their lives trying to make up for them. Seeker of hidden truths moved closer to Hana. But we also saw something else, something the Valari could not understand. What? Hana asked. We saw that you do not just survive trauma, you transform it. You take pain and turn it into wisdom. You take loss and turn it into compassion. You take fear and turn it into courage. The bridge crew exchanged surprised looks. This wasn't what they had expected to hear. Destroyer of false thoughts spoke again. We have encountered many species in our travels. Most fall into two categories: those who have never faced hardship and remain weak, and those who have faced hardship and been destroyed by it. You are the first species we have met that grows stronger through suffering. So you understand us now? Asked Minho hopefully. We understand that you are dangerous, Judgment upon the Guilty said firmly. But we also understand that you are dangerous to yourselves as much as to others, and we see that you struggle against your own darkness. Suddenly, alarms began ringing again. Tae-hyun checked his instruments with growing alarm. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures. Multiple fleets are approaching our position. On the main screen, hundreds of new ships appeared. The space around them filled with vessels of every shape and size, crystal ships like the Valari, dark ships like the Keth Mori, and dozens of other alien designs. The Purification Fleet has arrived, said the Keth Mori leader. They come from every peaceful species in this sector of the galaxy. They have heard about humanity, and they are afraid. Can you stop them? Captain Jiwoo asked desperately. We could try, but they will not listen to us without proof that humanity can be trusted. What kind of proof? Hana asked. The alien looked at her with its glowing blue eyes. You would need to show them not just what you are, but what you choose to be. You would need to demonstrate that your capacity for darkness is balanced by an even greater capacity for light. Through the ship's communication system, they could hear the voices of hundreds of alien species, all calling for humanity's destruction. The beautiful diversity of galactic civilization had united for one purpose: to eliminate the human threat. Captain Jiwoo looked at his crew. Ideas. Dr. Sumin Cho, who had been quiet during the meeting, suddenly spoke up. Captain, I've been analyzing the data from all our contacts with the aliens. I think I know what they're really afraid of. Tell me. They're not afraid that we'll hurt them, Suman said. They're afraid that we'll change them. They see our mental patterns and they realize that contact with us might make them more like us. They might develop the same capacity for darkness that we have. Judgment upon the Guilty made a sound that might have been laughter. The scientist is perceptive. Yes, that is exactly what they fear. They see you as a contagion that might spread. But what if that's not necessarily a bad thing? Hana asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. What if our darkness is actually something they need? The Keth Mori leader tilted its head. Explain. Hana stood up, her mind working quickly. You said we're the only species you've met that grows stronger through hardship. What happens to species that never face hardship? They remain weak, the alien admitted. They stagnate. Eventually, they die out when they encounter challenges they cannot handle. Then maybe, Hana said, what looks like a curse to them might actually be a gift. Outside, the Purification Fleet continued to grow. But Hana had an idea that might save not just humanity, but change the entire galaxy forever. The space around the new Sol now looked like a galaxy-wide convention of warships. Thousands of alien vessels had arrived, each one representing a different species that wanted humanity destroyed. The ships formed layers around the human vessel, like the rings of a planet made of metal and energy. Captain Jiwoo Park stood in his command center, watching the displays that showed just how outnumbered they were. How many ships are out there now? He asked Communications Officer Tae-hyun Yu. I've stopped counting at 3,000, Captain, Tae-hyun replied grimly, and more keep arriving every few minutes. In the meeting room, Dr. Hana Kim faced the Keth Mori leader, Judgment upon the Guilty. The alien's glowing blue eyes studied her carefully. You said our darkness might be a gift, the alien said. Explain this before the fleet commanders lose patience and simply destroy your ship. Hana took a deep breath. She knew this might be humanity's last chance. Tell me about the Valari. What's happening to their species? The alien paused. That Information is not your concern. But it is, insisted Dr. Jiho-sun, the anthropologist. We've been analyzing their communications and bio-readings during our contacts. The Valari are dying out, aren't they? Seeker of hidden truths, the second Keth Mori, made a sound of surprise. How could you know that? Because we've seen it before, said Dr. Suman Cho. On Earth, we had species that lived in perfect environments, with no challenges. They often became so specialized for their perfect world that they couldn't adapt when things changed. Hana nodded. The Valari have been peaceful for so long that they've lost the ability to handle change or stress. Their population is declining because they can't cope with any kind of difficulty. Even if this is true, said judgment upon the guilty, what does it matter? Many species face extinction. It is the way of the universe. But it doesn't have to be, Hana said firmly. Let me show you something. Let me show you the complete human experience. The alien commander hesitated. We have already seen your memories of war and violence. What more is there? Everything else, Hana said. You saw what we do when we have to fight. Let me show you what we do when we choose not to. Before the alien could respond, urgent alarms began ringing throughout both ships. Tai-hyun's voice came over the communication system. Captain, the fleet commanders are demanding an immediate response. They want to know if we're going to surrender for execution, or if they need to destroy us by force. Captain Ji-woo entered the meeting room. Dr. Kim, whatever you're planning, it needs to happen now. Hana looked at the Keth Mori leader. Will, you let me try? The alien considered for a long moment. The fleet will not wait much longer. If you are going to do something, it must be now. And it must be convincing. It will be, Hana promised. But this time, I need to connect not just with you, but with representatives from every species in that fleet. Impossible, said Destroyer of False Thoughts. The mental strain would kill you. Maybe, Hana admitted. But if I don't try, they'll kill all of us anyway. Security Chief Kyung-ho Nam stepped forward. Dr. Kim, you can't seriously be thinking of letting thousands of aliens into your mind. At once. Not all at once, Hana said, but I need to show them what they haven't seen yet. They've seen our capacity for darkness. Now they need to see our capacity for light. The Keth Mori leader extended its metallic tendrils again. I will act as a filter and relay your thoughts to the fleet commanders, but I warn you, this will be more intense than anything you have experienced. Are you certain you want to do this? Hana sat down and closed her eyes. I'm certain. The tendrils touched her temples. Immediately, she felt not just one alien mind, but dozens of them pressing into her consciousness. The mental pressure was enormous, but she forced herself to stay focused. Instead of showing them her military memories, Hana opened different parts of her mind. She showed them her childhood on Earth, playing in gardens that had been built on former battlefields. She showed them hospitals where former enemies worked together to save lives. She showed them schools where children of different races learned together in peace. The aliens saw human soldiers who chose to risk their lives to save enemy civilians. They saw warriors who could have conquered but chose to rebuild instead. They saw people who had every reason to hate but chose to forgive. They saw the story of Earth after the Great Wars, how humanity had looked at the destruction they had caused and decided to do better. They saw the global peace accords, the humanitarian space program, the decision to explore space not as conquerors but as learners. But most importantly, they saw the human choice. In every memory, in every situation, they saw humans who could have chosen cruelty, but chose kindness instead. They saw people who could have chosen selfishness, but chose sacrifice. They saw minds that had been shaped by darkness, but had decided to create light. The mental connection lasted for what felt like hours. Hana felt her consciousness stretching across space, touching minds that were completely alien to her own. She saw flashes of their worlds, perfect paradise planets where nothing bad had ever happened, sterile environments where every need was met automatically, civilizations so advanced they had forgotten what struggle meant, and in return, they saw humanity's greatest secret, that their strength came not from avoiding darkness, but from facing it and choosing to be better. When the connection finally ended, Hana collapsed. Engineer Minho Lee caught her before she hit the floor. Her nose was bleeding and her hands were shaking uncontrollably. "Hana!" Captain Ji-woo knelt beside her. "Are you all right?" She nodded weakly. "Did it work?" The Keth Mori leader stood silently for several minutes. The other aliens in the room waited. Outside, the massive fleet hung in space, also waiting. Finally, judgment upon the guilty spoke. "The fleet commanders are confused." "Confused how?" asked Taehyun. "They saw what we saw in your mind," the alien said to Hana. "But they also saw something else. They saw that your species has faced the same challenges that are now destroying theirs." "What do you mean?" Captain Ji-woo asked. Seeker of Hidden Truths answered. "Many of the species in that fleet are dying out. The Valari are not alone." Perfect. Worlds create perfect beings, but perfect beings cannot survive imperfect situations. Climate changes, resource depletion, cosmic disasters, added destroyer of false thoughts. When these peaceful species encounter problems they cannot solve with kindness and cooperation alone, they simply give up. Hana struggled to sit up. "But humans don't give up." "No," agreed the Keth Mori leader. "You adapt, you change, you find new ways to survive, and most remarkably, you help others survive too." Through the communication system, they could hear discussions happening throughout the alien fleet. The voices didn't sound angry anymore. They sounded uncertain, curious, even hopeful. "What are they saying?" asked Captain Ji-woo. Taehyun worked at his translation equipment. "It's hard to make out everything, but I'm hearing words like adaptation, survival, and learning. Some of them are asking if humans could teach them how to be more resilient." Dr. Suman Cho looked excited. "Captain, I think they're beginning to understand. They're realizing that what they saw as contamination might actually be medicine." The Keth Mori leader turned to Hana. "There is something else. In your memories, we saw humans who had been broken by trauma but who learned to heal. We saw your species develop ways to help minds recover from terrible experiences. Psychological therapy," Hana said. "We learned how to fix damaged minds because we had so many of them. The fleet commanders are asking if you would be willing to share this knowledge. There are species out there who have encountered hardships they cannot handle. They are dying because they do not know how to recover from trauma." Captain Ji-woo looked around at his crew. "Are they offering to make a deal with us?" "They are offering something much more significant," said Judgment Upon the Guilty. "They are offering to learn from you." Hana managed a weak smile. "You mean they want us to teach them how to be more like us?" "They want you to teach them how to survive," the alien corrected. "How to face darkness without being destroyed by it. How to choose light, even when everything around you is dark." Outside, the massive fleet began to change. Instead of weapons pointing at the human ship, the aliens extended communication arrays and docking ports. They were preparing not for war, but for the largest learning exchange in galactic history. "So what happens now?" asked Minho. The Keth Mori leader looked at Hana with something that might have been respect. "Now, Dr. Kim, you and your species get the chance to do what you do best, which is take something terrible and turn it into something beautiful. Take fear and turn it into hope. Take the thing that makes you monsters and use it to become healers." As Hana looked out at the thousands of alien ships now preparing to learn from humanity, she realized that their greatest weakness had indeed become their greatest gift. The darkness that had terrified the Valari was the same darkness that would help save the galaxy. Humanity's long, painful journey through war and suffering had prepared them for this moment, not to conquer the stars, but to teach them how to heal. 6 months later, the new soul floated in the center of what had become known as the Harmony Station. The massive space structure was built from parts contributed by over 40 different alien species. It looked like a crystal city mixed with a metal flower, beautiful and strange at the same time. Dr. Hana Kim stood in her new office, looking out at the busy traffic of ships coming and going. Alien vessels of every size and shape moved through space like colorful fish in a vast ocean. Each one carried students, teachers, or healers traveling between worlds. "The morning reports, Doctor," said her assistant, a young human named Bowman Choi, who had volunteered to join the cultural exchange program. Hana took the data pad and read through it. "How many new patients this week?" 47, Bowman replied. 15 Valari suffering from adaptation anxiety, 12 Zenth-Ka with social integration problems, 8 Mordai experiencing resource scarcity trauma, and 12 others from various species. Hana nodded. In the months since first contact, she had learned that the galaxy was full of species facing problems they didn't know how to handle. Climate change on paradise worlds, overpopulation on planets that had never known scarcity. First encounters with hostile neighbors by species that had never fought anyone. The door chimed and Captain Ji-Woo Park entered. He looked tired but happy. "Hana, do you have a minute? I want to talk about the Earth Council's new proposal." "Of course, Captain, though you know you don't have to call me doctor anymore. We're all equal partners in this project." Ji-Woo smiled. "I know, but old habits. The Council wants to expand the program. They're asking us to establish 5 more stations like this one in different parts of the galaxy." Hana sat down at her desk. "That's a big step. Do we have enough qualified people? We're training more every day. Dr. Suman Cho has been working with the Keth Mori to develop new teaching methods. And engineer Minho Lee has been designing better communication systems with the Valari." Through the window, they could see one of Minho's latest creations, a massive translation hub that allowed dozens of different species to communicate clearly with each other. It floated near the station like a metal moon covered in lights. "What about the resistance groups?" Hana asked. "Are we still having problems with species that don't want to change?" "Some," Ji-Woo admitted. "The Purity Alliance still believes that maintaining perfect peace is better than learning to handle conflict. But their numbers are shrinking." Hana wasn't surprised. She had treated several former Purity Alliance members who had realized their perfect worlds were slowly dying. When faced with the choice between extinction and adaptation, most chose to learn. The door chimed again. This time, it was judgment upon the guilty. The Keth Mori leader who had become Hana's closest alien colleague. The being's metallic form had changed over the months. It was now decorated with small crystal growths that the Valari had taught it to grow as a sign of friendship. "Good morning, Hana," the alien said, its mental voice much warmer than it had been during their first meeting. "I have interesting news from the Outer Rim worlds." "Good news or bad news?" Hana asked. "Both. The Helian Collective has finally agreed to join our program. They are ready to learn human psychological techniques." "That is good news," said Captain Ji-Woo. "They've been refusing help for months." "Yes, but the reason they changed their minds is not so good. Their homeworld has been hit by massive earthquakes. Their perfect crystal cities are collapsing, and they do not know how to cope with destruction." Hana sighed. This was the pattern they saw over and over again. Perfect civilizations that had never faced hardship were completely unprepared when disaster struck. "How long do we have to help them?" "Their psychologists estimate 6 months before complete societal collapse." "Then we better get started," Hana said, standing up. "Bowman, cancel my appointments for today. Captain, can you arrange transport to the Helian system?" "Already done," Ji-Woo said with a grin. "I figured you'd want to go personally." This was why Hana loved working with her old crew. They understood each other perfectly after everything they had been through together. As they prepared to leave, Communications Officer Tae-hyun Yu contacted them from his post on the communication hub. "Hana, you should see this before you go. We just received a message from Earth." Hana activated the communication screen in her office. The image that appeared showed Dr. Elena Vasquez, the head of Earth's Xenopsychology Department. "Hana, congratulations on the success of the Harmony Station project," Elena said with a warm smile. "The Earth Council has been watching your progress with great interest." "Thank you, Elena. What can we do for you?" "Actually, it's what we want to do for you. The Council has voted to establish the Kim Protocol as our official policy for all future alien contacts." Hana blinked in surprise. "The Kim Protocol?" "Named after you, of course. It's based on your approach. Show them our complete nature, the darkness and the light together. Help them understand that what makes us dangerous also makes us valuable." Captain Ji-Woo laughed. "You're famous, Dr. Kim." "There's more," Elena continued. "We've had contact from 17 other human ships that have encountered alien civilizations. They all want to learn your techniques for psychological first contact." Hana felt overwhelmed. When she had first volunteered to touch minds with the eye, Valari, she had just wanted to help establish peaceful relations. She never imagined it would lead to this. "You are troubled," observed judgment upon the guilty. "Why do you not celebrate this success?" "Because I keep thinking about all the species we haven't reached yet," Hana said honestly. "How many perfect civilizations are out there right now, slowly dying because they don't know how to adapt? How many will be extinct before we can help them?" "You cannot save everyone," the Keth Mori said gently, "but you can save those who are willing to learn." A new voice joined the conversation. Bright's song of welcome, the Valari leader who had first touched. Hana's mind materialized in the room as a shimmering hologram. Over the months, the beautiful being had learned to control its fear of human thoughts. "Dr. Kim," it said, its mental voice filled with gratitude, "I wanted to thank you before you leave for the Helian worlds." "Thank me for what?" "For showing us that fear and hope can exist in the same mind. My people have learned to live with uncertainty, and we are stronger for it. Our population decline has stopped. Our young ones are being born again." This was the real victory, Hana thought. Not the massive space station or the diplomatic treaties, but the simple fact that species were learning to survive and thrive again. "There's something else," said Bright Song of Welcome. "We have encountered a species called the Neth-Ara. They are like what humans might have become if you had never learned to control your darkness." Hana and Ji-woo exchanged concerned looks. "What do you mean?" "They are a warrior species that knows only violence. They destroy everything they encounter because they never learned that strength can be used to protect instead of just to conquer. They are approaching this sector of space." "Are they a threat to the station?" asked Ji-woo. "Potentially, but we think they might be the ultimate test of human psychological techniques. If you can help them learn balance, you can help anyone." Hana looked out at the bustling traffic around Harmony Station. Hundreds of species were learning, growing, and adapting together. They were creating something new, a galactic civilization, based not on perfect peace or endless war, but on the difficult balance between them. "When will the Neth-Ara arrive?" she asked. "Approximately 1 year. Then we have a year to prepare," Hana said firmly. "A year to train more counselors, establish more stations, and develop new techniques." "You are not afraid?" asked Judgment upon the Guilty. Hana smiled. "Of course I'm afraid, but fear is just another thing to work with, not something to run from. That's what makes us human." As the new soul prepared to depart for the Helion system, Hana took one last look at Harmony Station. The beautiful structure represented everything humanity had learned about turning darkness into light, trauma into strength, and fear into hope. In her bag, she carried data pads containing new psychological techniques developed jointly by human and alien researchers. In her mind, she carried the memories of dozens of successful treatments, each one representing a species that had learned to survive its challenges. But most importantly, in her heart, she carried the knowledge that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their strength. It was their hard-won wisdom about how to face darkness without becoming consumed by it. The ship launched toward the Helion system, where another dying civilization waited for help. Behind them, Harmony Station continued its work of teaching the galaxy's perfect species how to be beautifully imperfect. And in the vast darkness of space, more human ships were making contact with more alien civilizations, carrying with them the most human gift of all, the knowledge that hope and healing were always possible, no matter how dark things seemed. The aliens had been right to fear human minds, but they had also been right to learn from them. In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't conquering the galaxy, it was teaching it how to heal,